Super fun. We did we were doing those go lives on Instagram, and it's great to talk to 3 people, but I figured it might be good to try to reach them where they are, and they're not on Instagram for us. They're just, I'm not putting as much Instagram effort as I should, I guess, or whatever, but screw that noise.
Should. You've never been big on should.
Not a big fan of should. Should means won't. That's don't should on yourself, right? So this is like bonus, and the only reason it's bonus is I want to talk a little bit about alchemy. That's what we'd have to call our backpack chocolate, by the way, would be alchemy. That's what Chef Philip would make in it. If you're here, just say hi, because remember, we don't know that you're here. We just see the little number creep up that says there's a lot of people watching, but say hi so we know who we're addressing. And I just wanted to talk to Kerry about this show and how proud I am of what we've been able to create and all the stuff you're doing. Hey, Jonathan, good to see you, buddy. Just what we've been able to do. I haven't seen Jonathan in person in a while, but for a while there, people
haven't seen anybody in person for a while.
Oh, I know, but I mean like
months and months,
7 years or something crazy. But
so you don't even have that excuse.
Yo, Jane moved over to LinkedIn, so so it's Kate. So everybody like leaves Facebook, goes over there. But
well, yeah, they got work to do.
I know, and this is a double show. And Kara came back because we didn't even get to do the show with Kara today. So. All right. So the number one reason we do this show is for this. We do this so that you chat with us and say hi and decloak you lurkers. There's so many people right now. There's more people than were at the Backpack Show episode, but they're not saying hi, so we don't know you're here. That's funny to me. But I want to talk about alchemy for a second. I want to talk about the fact that, when you look at the guests. So let's do today, Kerry. I wanted David Mullings because he's a video game playing CEO and like a fancy guy, like an investor guy. That's why I got him. You got Chef Philip. How did that happen?
Because I like chocolate. So we've been trying consciously to get more BIPOC, more women, just underrepresented business owners on the show. And so I've been doing searches here and there for Black-owned businesses, but I didn't do like Black-owned businesses generally and kind of look around. I was like, I want a Black-owned chocolatier. And so I went and came across him almost immediately because he's made chocolates for some of the premier Hollywood events and stuff like that. And the more I read about his story, I knew we had to talk to him. Like he switched careers and started a chocolate business because he had a dream. No, not like I had a dream, like you say, like I have a vision of what I want my life to be like. It was like he was asleep. And when he woke up, he went and learned how to become a chocolatier. So I was like, yes, I would like to talk to Chef Philip, please. Thank you.
So today we have an investor originally from Jamaica, living between Miami, Orlando, and Jamaica, Bonjour. And a Memphis-based, originally from Baltimore, chocolatier. 2 fellas today, and yesterday, jury could be out because Michael Mapanga identifies as male. I don't know what Devanako.
Devanako is a drag queen, and we said, what are your pronouns? And she said, I don't care.
So, whatever pronoun you want.
But in all the bios and stuff online, they say she. So
there you go. So she could be a she for that.
Yeah.
And so why would we have a drag queen on this show?
Never talked to one before. Need to know what they know about success. I mean, so think about what it takes for someone in college, because Devana is in college, to put themselves out there that way to their friends, their family, future colleagues, that kind of stuff. And just to be so fearlessly yourself. I think there's a lesson in there for all of us who are like, oh, I don't know, is that font too edgy for finance? You know what I mean?
And Deb, you were a lurker. We see no names until you comment. So we don't know if Carol's here or Deb's here until you comment. So that's important. I wish that was something that, you know what? We can make a ticker. Unless you comment, we don't know you're here. Unless you comment, we don't know you're here. We could do that. So now let's go to the last 2 days. So we have an investor guy, a chocolatier, a drag queen, and founder Michael Mapanga of Afroland TV, who wanted to see more African programming in places like the States and everywhere, making sort of the Netflix of African content.
Which was so lovely because he's saying, hey, these are amazing stories. It's not, you don't go watching this because you want to see Black content. It's like you go watching these because they're amazing stories.
Right.
And the protagonists, happen to be Black. And we need to get there. So it's not like a Black veterinarian does XYZ. So it's just like a veterinarian. That's how we get there.
So last 2 days, we had 3 guys and 1 assigned male at birth who defines as female. So that's not really good, man. We're not really covering females. Oh, wait, we have Heather Collins and Jen Glantz the next day, personal trainer and a bridesmaids for hire.
That was crazy. So the way I found the bridesmaid for hire is I was thinking, what would be a weird job? Like, I want to find some really strange things that you don't think could be a business and yet are. So I was literally doing searches for things like weird business or wait, that's an actual job and like whatever. And I came across one of her books first, which was, Bridesmaid for Hire. I think it was Always a Bridesmaid for Hire. And went and looked her up and was like, yes, somebody makes a living being a bridesmaid for total strangers. And it was both sad in a way to me and inspiring because it's like, yes, you really can make a business out of anything. And also, there's a need out there for warmth and personal connection. And, we don't have good enough female friends to serve as bridesmaids. That made me a little sad. Like, I feel like community is just deteriorating. So that was another thing. Like, I wanted to get her on to talk about what she's doing and who she's doing it for entrepreneurs, but also to tell us, like, we love the backpack community. It's a big part of the reason I love doing this.
Right.
So like, I hope that in some small way we can give community back because I feel like it's just disappearing.
Leslie says, a lot of fun shows this week, but now I got to go find some chocolate around my office.
It will not be the same.
It will not feel as good.
Gosh.
It's like when I watch cooking shows while I'm eating Spam. I'm like, well.
So yeah, so this is an amazing thing. So what's really interesting is that Chef Philip, I wanted for all these reasons, and I kind of knew a lot about him based on what I'd read. And then I didn't know anything about David Mullings. And so when you booked him, I just asked, hey, what's some stuff that like nobody knows about? What do you do for fun? What do you do when you're not like bringing money to the Caribbean and underrepresented business owners? And he told us.
Right.
And then he was like really excited to talk about it. I love that so much that we get to see a side of people that, they don't show on other shows because other shows don't want to hear it.
Kate has a question that goes right to my philosophy. Kate asked the question, your show's great to hear you now getting our guests, but are you asking them interview questions ahead of time, Kate Colgan? Are you asking them interview questions ahead of time? No, never, no. I hate it. For me, someone sends me questions, I say thank you, but I deleted your questions. I think it's the worst feeling in the world to have that sort of prefab interview. We never do it. In fact, Kerry is better at this than me, but if they start trying to tell us a story backstage, she'll say, shh, don't use it. I don't want to hear it.
I say it just like that. And I hope it's not rude, but I'm like, save it, because we'll think that we've already said it on the show. We won't have, and people will miss it. And I don't want them to miss it. So I'd rather like not hear it now. I'd rather hear it later and then just hope that we don't forget. So Leslie says she knows that the chocolate she gets around her office is not going to be up to par. But, Carol says quarantine would have been a whole different experience without us. So it's given me back the kind of personal connection and the curiosity that I have needs to be satisfied like daily. This has given me back some of that because I used to travel a lot more and go to events and present and meet other speakers and meet people who would go to these events. And I learned all the time and I need that. And I love that. So being shut in, doing just my regular job constantly during quarantine for me was like torture. I felt like I was living in a gray padded room or something.
And the trick
this is exciting for me. It's for anyone.
One reason I dragged you in is because I have an opinion. I mean, you have another job, and I have an opinion that, of course, you have to do a lot of what you have to do at your job. You know what I mean? That's everybody. Everybody who has somebody else making the paycheck, you have to do it their way. And all I wanted to think is, how do we go after? And early on, you were still kind of, how about this marketer that we all know? And I said, no, find weirdos. Well, and then
you say that, but then realize that your show catch up was all those marketing people.
Well, because I didn't know.
Don't you act like it was me not understanding.
I didn't know either, but
your show changed.
I pushed you, and then you pushed us, so it worked. So Deb says I like the questions, huh?
Yeah, no, sorry, never gonna do it because when I give people a list of questions, I get scripted answers, and it's a horrible experience.
However, look what she's saying. So conversations go in different directions. Here's the thing. The thing about to be a good host, I'm charging someone, I'm coaching someone, they're going to pay me money to learn how to be a better host, because they figured out there's a difference between being a conversationalist and a host. And Kerry, you thought about that a lot too. I mean, that's been on your mind about the difference between running the show versus having the talk you want to have.
Well, so I've been interviewing people now professionally for like 10 years. And so I know what it takes to draw someone out and to help them give value to your community, right? That I can do. Trying to do that whilst running the back end is a whole different thing. So that's a skill I've developed over the years, working webinars and stuff like that. You just kind of get good at it. I don't know if it's because my dad like read to me with the TV on. He would watch the news while reading to me, which sounds horrible. And at first I think it was, but then I got used to it. And then by the end, I knew what the news was and what the story was. So like,
you had both.
Yeah, I have both. So
look at Deanna just reported some news. Speaking of news, she was a little late because she was out voting. And she said, we went as a family, my son's first presidential election.
Wow, that's exciting. Big. Yep.
That's big.
I voted by mail, and they had ballot tracker. So I've already voted. I could tell. What are the secrets to success? 2 tips. Oh my God, for running a show while interviewing people.
Running a show while interviewing. Well, I mean, I'll say one thing right up front. So I just had this the other day. Someone was asking me, and I get really grumpy when someone accuses me of having like a lot of back end help or something. I was like, I could run my own show. I did run my own show. I had Kerry on because we could both run a show. And Kerry has great questions and brings a whole new energy to what I was doing. And so I just want to preface that before you ask Kerry the 2 secrets to running a show.
Oh, he's saying you should ask him instead.
I can run a goddamn show. Yeah. All right. Keep going as you were.
No, forget it. Now I don't want to say.
No, I don't.
So it's always going to be more important to be listening than it is to be pushing buttons. And so I always try, like, that's my first priority. So if I was dividing my energy while running a show, it's like 75% listening and 25% pushing buttons. So it has to be, because otherwise I'm going to push the wrong button at an inappropriate time and like bring up some super happy comment while they're talking about some sad thing. And I don't want to do that. So I'm listening first and then running it on the back end, which is for a show, right? Now for a webinar, it's a little bit different. For a webinar, the other person's presenting for a long period of time. So you have all kinds of time to, check the back end and answer chats and all that sort of stuff. It's a different thing to be on a live show than it is to run a live webinar with somebody else presenting and you're just running it. So they're related, but they're not the same skill set. This is a little more about listening. So that's one tip. The other is I already know a lot of what Chris wants. So I just kind of keep that running in the back of my mind. Like, nope, he would hate that. So as soon as somebody, like a guest, will turn up with AirPods in,
we take them out.
You have literally any other thing. Sometimes they don't, and we have to go with it. But I already know you're going to hate it. And so like a big part of that is just kind of avoiding problems.
Amy Falcon's here. She doesn't even know she's not watching the show. She's just watching us chatting. The show's so much better, Amy. It's an hour earlier than this. But
we have people other than us.
I started thinking about Amy last night. And so it's just so funny that she was there. We hadn't chatted in a bit. So, she's home healing from hip replacement surgery. Ouch. Aww. But good for you, because now you're going to have a whole new walk around town.
Well, thank you for stopping by. And Deb says she likes knowing the questions and appreciates the spontaneity. I can't even speak. So the other thing I would say to you, Deb, is that it's not like we don't tell people what we want to talk about. It's right. Like we'll say, hey, we're into knowing about your origin story. We want to know about that dream, Chef Philip. Or, hey, we want to talk about your nonprofit work, David Mullings, with, fund a Black business or something like that. So we'll tell them what we want to talk about. It's not like they come in totally blind, and we also tell them, hey, it's a morning show, not like looking to make you look bad or be like, where were you on this night of whatever month? It's meant right. to be an enjoyable experience for everybody.
So before we answer another question, and I want to answer all those questions too, because they're great questions. Thank you, Deb. I think that one thing to know. So first off, we never wing it. We always have a sense of questions we want. We always know which kind of question is going to move someone up a little bit. Plus, we have a responsibility. We have 2 very important responsibilities. We act as the guest. We're trying to ask a question we think the guest wants, and I try to make Kerry do that, because in case I forget to do it, because one of us gets too excited. If one of us is too excited, if one of us likes the guest too much, the other one tries to remember, okay, let's ask what a guest would want, because they're off the, because I'll do it.
They're off the rails.
I get jazzed. But then the other thing we also do is we have to make that guest look good. And so this is a really weird analogy for this. There's a Dungeons and Dragons thing saying let the monk catch the arrow. And so in Dungeons and Dragons, if you're making your character, there's all the stuff you fill in for the character's skills and abilities. But if you're the dungeon master and you're making this dungeon and there's nothing that really highlights those skills and abilities, then you're a crappy dungeon master. So we have to make David Mullings excited to talk about video games. If we don't, we're going to fail it. We have to let Chef Philip talk about dreams or we wrecked it. And so that's my take on that answer.
We absorb a lot of knowledge about the guests before they come on, either because we already knew their work or because we got enamored with their work, which is why we asked them. And so we're kind of indoctrinated, if you know what I mean. So I try to forget that stuff, not forget it, but I try to approach the questions as though I didn't know any of that, because I know that you don't. And I want you to. Like, I want you to discover them for yourself.
As we do. Right. Which we stole from Jeff Brown, Read to Lead. Jeff says, I want the audience to have the same thing we have. I can't say audience, the community we serve. Mm-hmm. Do you do tech rehearsal? I don't. Somebody sometimes nicely says, oh, sure, I'll jump on a StreamYard and show you how it works.
I've only done that a couple of times. One was, so the first professional female Black winemaker in South Africa had never used StreamYard before. And she was nervous about it. And she just asked if I would come in the day before and kind of like show her the ropes. And it's super easy to use. It takes like less than 10 minutes to make her super comfortable, give her all the links she needs for everything. I mean, for me, that's a good investment, because in the morning when we're trying to get it together for the show, we have 2 guests to balance. And I don't want either one of them to come in totally unprepared. So if I can get her kind of like level set, then we can explain the show when both guests are in the studio together, instead of trying to show her that, the tech works. And the only other time I've done it, I've talked to a couple people on the phone. I think they just want to make sure we're not, I don't know,
carpetbaggers.
You make sure we're legit. Yeah, I guess. So talked to a few people on the phone. Alex Neville, one of those, we talked to him beforehand, and Genevieve Bien-Ami, talked to her beforehand. So these are conversations more like, hey, this is what we'd like to talk about with you. Here's how the show kind of goes. Hey, we're not, morons, basically, because we've gotten beyond our circle or our sphere of influence, if you want to call it that, not influence, but like the universe in which we operate, where people, if they don't know us, at least know of us. Like in marketing, they kind of like know someone who knows us. They know we're not morons. But when you get beyond that, you need to show people it's going to be a good conversation, that it's going to be worth their time. And so I'm happy to make that investment. It's just like 5-10 minutes on the phone or in StreamYard. And we do not do it as a matter of course, because most people don't require it or don't need it. But if they do want that, I'll do it.
I don't do it because it's annoying. I did do it for Sir Mix-a-Lot. That seemed totally fair. Sir Mix-a-Lot, if he could have it.
It's annoying.
It is. I don't like
annoying.
Looking at someone like figure out the buttons. Shut up. Deanna says, how do you stay positive for the first few shows when they're running?
You see how good he is at it. Staying positive.
How do you stay positive? I don't stay positive. Fuck positive. Positive's stupid. It's a thing. So what do you tell guests when you invite them? So we have a whole written up thing. Hey, how are you? It is our friend Debbie Saviano.
So I know that people, when we invite them, are running through some complex math in their head. Like, is this real? Is this worth it? Am I going to look stupid? Like, you just kind of have to.
Punked. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, here's an example. I was watching a pirate copy. I won't explain who showed it to me, of that I could have watched totally free anyway, Adobe Max or whatever that show's called. And Annika Jones came on, and Annika Jones is an artist, and she does, right now she's doing a lot of embroidery art.
She uses like non-traditional materials for painting, and to create works of art.
So I'm just trying to find an image of it just to show you really, really, really quick. So, okay.
For the embroidery portraits, like she'll take embroidery thread and create, when you back up, it's like an amazing portrait of somebody with dimension and even shading, but it's all done with thread. So it's kind of incredible.
Embroidery portrait.
She's also, her first self-portrait, she did of herself in case it turned out badly, like the embroidery, but it was breathtaking. There it is, I think you see. And there's one of them. And so she's done a few others. She's worked with, a lot of her work has a theme. Annika's work has a theme in in helping. She wants to like bring awareness to women's issues. She wants to stop human trafficking of like very young girls and stuff like that. So she made art out of condoms and stuff, which sounds horrible.
Yeah. But it was a thing.
Yeah, but it worked. Like she painted over them, put them in place and all this other stuff. So yeah, that was interesting. But that's how you discover guests though. You see something and
see something I like and I go grab them. So Deanna had asked questions. So how do you reach out? So I find her on Twitter I find people on Twitter as often as I can. I wrote, hey, Annika, just watched your Adobe Max thing and it was amazing. My mind is blown. I followed you. Can you either DM me or send me an email and let's talk? And she wrote, hey, Chris, messaging with regards to your show. Thanks for reaching out. So I gave her a little bit of scoop on the show in the chat, in the Twitter DM, but I thought I had done more there. I was going to use it as a model. So instead, what I ended up doing was I sent her an email and I said, we do this show. It's a little show. It runs live. It goes all over the place. I always stress that it's little. I never want them to think that we're trying to. Trying
to fool them.
I've been dragged onto shows where like this guy says, come hang out with me. I do this show for ABC and it's going to show in all the ABC networks and all that. And that was not exactly true. And I was in his house and he lived in a loft. And like, when I first opened the door, I walked right into pretty much his bed. And I was like, hey, I don't know what show you think I'm doing.
He was hitting on you.
So, and it turned out fine, but it was so sketch. And so I always say it's a small show. And I say, what we do is we try to do business success and insight. We want to show it to a community of business people who otherwise can't or don't know about you. And I want to give them the chance to ask you questions because they don't get to talk to people as interesting and cool as you in their business life.
Well, because why would you? That's the best part of booking guests. Right. It's like, I want to talk to a dominatrix. I want to talk to a nun.
And so what did they say? What did the dominatrix and nun say when you asked them?
Well, so the dominatrix had said, hey, I don't do video interviews because I chose this profession to be a dominatrix. My family didn't choose it. So, for the sake of my kids, and my husband, like, I don't do video interviews. And then we were like, cool, we'll just keep your camera off. It's totally fine.
And she's like, oh, okay.
And she came and did it. And I did not know that day we would also have a deaf author on. And so that was a very interesting alchemy there. It ended up being just an amazing show, so that the dominatrix never on camera, so you can't read lips or anything. But the deaf author, Karen Putz, who's amazing, she had rev.com running in the background and had an almost instantaneous transcript coming up. And we would type questions out in the private chat and stuff. And they ended up having this kind of a connection about being curious about something and making that your life's work, because that is what Karen tells people to do. And that's what Mistress Montana did. So it's funny to see the alchemy emerge, even when you think, oh my gosh, I should not have booked these people the same day, like tech-wise even.
So Rick and Kate made almost the same joke, which is that I want to talk to dominatrix nun, and Kate said the nun isn't the dominatrix. I got to tell you, so that I think all nuns are dominatrix. But,
no.
I gave up.
Sister Anne was lovely. Sister Anne was lovely. So that was a bit of a joke between us, and it turned into a great show because Chris had booked an adult film star, and I said, fine, I'm going to book a nun. And I did. And I went looking. I was doing the most ridiculous searches. I was like, I need a Twitter nun. I need a media nun. I need whatever. And Media Nuns brought me to Nun Blogger. So that's how I found Sister Anne Flanigan. And she did not come on the same day as the adult film star, which was probably good. But I did get her on and it was amazing. So that's kind of like, that turned from a joke into probably one of my favorite shows. Like probably one of my, if not my favorite, it's definitely one of like my top 3, because Sister Anne Flanigan was just an amazing person. So much substance and so much to learn from for life and business, because you can't succeed in business alone. Like you have to succeed in life in other ways. You have the same things that fuel business success, fuel overall success. So I feel like that was super valuable. People loved her.
She was swell. She Sister Anne Flanigan was more fun than my friend who's also an adult film star. She was a lot of fun. But look at what we do on our Friday shows, which probably the next Friday, I don't remember if we decided we'd do that again, but the sort of let's just talk together ones. Those shows are fun too, because we would not have known about Kara and Sketching Fife if we didn't have that show. We would never have had that guest.
I was just thinking, I want to play Loaded Questions one time when we do that. Like invite people to come play Loaded Questions with us. Like have Eric come with us and we can just play Loaded Questions with people.
Oh, so Kate wants to play a game of, what's been put in the backpack so far. Not me, but I can tell you that
I remember the ones that I liked.
Right. I really only remember avocado in the extra backpack. That's all I remember.
Fearlessness and vulnerability is probably my favorite. That was Dave Landau, the comedian. And,
Dave Landau, who told this incredible. Look how far along that was, so long ago.
It's the one that stuck for me.
If you think about it, though, you know what I mean? Like, think of all the guests we've had, and the fact now that we've had 3 comedians on a show. You know, the first person who was officially a backpack person was so far from what the show ended up being. We did Richard Ryerson, who's a friend who does a dose of leadership, and it was a leadership conversation. And that was probably it. That was the last time I think, we went from him to James Andrews, who was super fun.
Banana. Carol liked the banana.
The banana was good. Marcus Whitney, Phil Gerbishak, Jeff Pulvers. He's still our regular guys. Joseph Jaffe, Chris Perquette, Katie Robert, John Jantz, normal people. Mirman. That was a good episode. Mirman and Dre Armada. Tamar on perfume and Brooke Sellis. So we're still normal. Dave Landau and Jason Miller. Now we're getting there. Lucy Wyndham Reed and John Ashby, who films.
You went to bed and we had no guests.
Yeah.
And then you woke up and we had 2. That's how that worked.
Thank you, Elf. We had comedian and author Janie Godley on, which is our most watched, most commented on show ever by miles.
She was amazing.
Mark Levy we had on. Then we got into NASCAR.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
And then Broadway actresses.
So the Broadway actresses, I was on Twitter and I saw a tweet from Jessie Hooker Bailey, J Hookity Hooks, something on Twitter, saying, hey, if you look at the cast of Waitress, you'd be like, hell yeah, so diverse. But guess what? It's still kind of typecasting. And I thought, shit, that's important. I want to talk about that because that's not something I ever thought about. It didn't occur to me. I go to a show, it's escapism. I'm not thinking about anything serious, really. And so I wanted to talk to her. And so she came on with Aisha Jackson, and they together opened my eyes about the lack of diversity in Broadway casting and just how quickly your career can be outstripped by like a white actor or actress with the very same background and credentials you start out with, but they get role after role and you get like understudy. And yeah. So anyway, that turned into another one of my favorite episodes where I was learning so much I need to appreciate that I didn't know.
So we got Kara from the Janie episode, and I'm so grateful for that because what a win. And also Nancy. Why am I blanking? Nancy Ramsey. How can I not do that? It rhymes like Nancy Ramsey. It's so perfect. And when we brought Ashley on, Janie's daughter, who has her own separate following.
She's so completely different.
So many people also came for that one.
Deb wanted to know how you manage your time. So researching guests, prepping, paper or tech, no paper, all tech, Google Drive to keep the production schedule, then the calendar. That's really about it. And email, old fashioned. And yeah, I do a lot of pitching on the weekend and end up with a lot of people kind of sprinkling in during the week to say yes for like future dates.
So Kate had asked a question and said, do we have a Telegram channel? I said, no, we sure don't. I did launch a Discord, but no one really goes there. cbrogan.me/Discord. Discord is sort of like Slack, but for kids instead of grownups, and it's way more better to use and more funner. Telegram, I don't go to Telegram just because I don't have any particular cryptocurrency right now. And every third person on Telegram wants to talk to you about this cool coin.
Google Drive, right, Kara? I mean, if it ain't broke.
I thought about the time a traveling comedian had a convincing argument with the firework down the street. Oh, the time traveling comedian. Yeah, Ashley. Oh my gosh.
So in preparation for talking with Ashley, I went and looked at I'd seen her material on Twitter. I had not looked at Ashley Story's work on any of the shows she's done. So I went and looked at some clips from some of the things she does for Scottish BB. Is it? I can't remember TV. But anyway, radio and TV though. And so I was watching some of the TV clips and I was losing it. Like we're about to go live and I'm laughing.
Laughing before it even started.
Oh my God. So yeah, I pick up things. I actually display things from different guests we've had in the background here. And so I've got Legos, I've got my Triple H that Debbie Saviano and Stacy Schieflin sent me. and books, from some of our favorite people like Melissa Falavino and Len Joy and Robert McCaw. So I like to keep things visible because it's a reminder for me of some of the great conversations we've had. I have a little thing from Sister Anne. You can't see it. It's like a religious bookmark sort of thing they send you when you make a donation. So I've got that. But yeah, so I think that over the time we've talked to people, I've kind of carried forward. I'm still reading like Robert McCaw's books, for example. And I'm following Melissa Falavino's work. So while this is happening, I'm growing personally as well.
Same here. Yeah. Carol asked a question, how far ahead do you book guests? Next week, we have 2 guests. Well, sorry, 1, 2, 3 guests booked. That's how far ahead. So 3 guests out of 10.
But so sometimes it gets away from you and you'll have a week booked fully and it's like 3 weeks out. You know what I mean?
So we've had it really full and we've had it not.
It's complete. It's directly correlated with how much pitching I'm doing or Chris is doing. If we feel like we're good for the moment and we slow down on the pitching, then there'll be like a lot of holes the following week. But if we keep going at a steady pace, then we end up with lots and lots of guests and we don't want people to wait to come on. So.
Oh, this is a great question from Deanna. How do you get them to talk naturally? It's some people you can't. I couldn't make Tommy Tallarico from Intellivision do anything Tommy didn't want to do.
You really couldn't.
Tommy, one sentence, Tommy. Not going to happen. I'm Italian. Blah, 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 blah.
It was so funny. I was like, stop. I have questions. Tommy.
You couldn't.
I never do that too. I never do that.
Couldn't step on the energy.
No. So we don't make them talk any particular way, I guess would be my answer. We try to choose people we think will be interesting.
But you know what happens? So there's a thing in marketing, and it's specifically to restauranting. So if I'm here, I'm serving you drinks and everything like that. Hey, welcome to the Ground Round. You want to try a Jose Cuervo margarita? Well,
no.
see this head going? This head is called the Sullivan nod. What the Sullivan nod says is that while you watch me do this, while you watch me nod my head, you have all kinds of sensors inside your body, either nodding with me right now or thinking about nodding with me. So we can do that in how we make the Backpack Show because we can talk a certain way and our guests want to talk that same way to match. The energy matches. The only thing we do, Deanna was saying, and we said we don't really prep people. The one thing we do prep, and I didn't say it today because we had a little guest issue. The one thing we did today didn't do today is we always say this: your energy is almost always, and Tommy is absolutely the exception to this rule. Your energy always looks about 20% less than you think it does. So you might feel happy, but you look like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been beating up my coworker, Rob Hatch. I've been beating the shit out of Rob Hatch going, Rob, you look so sad and grumpy on every interview. And I know you're not. I know you're happy as hell. Can you pretend? Can you stick something up your butt? I don't know.
Stop it. Be nice.
Excited.
Rob is a lovely person.
And Emily, I worked at the Ground Round for 8.5 days or something like that.
So we have a question here about what happens if there's no guests. Is there a plan for that? To get some.
Get some. And worst to worst, we'll just do something like this, but
or if tech fails. So if tech fails, that's very dicey. There's only probably been one that was a total catastrophic fail. And that was Lisa Klink, who was on her phone, but there was also some weird audio thing that would cause it to make this horrible noise every couple seconds. And what we ended up doing, so I think Chris would have been fine with just cutting her all together, but I really, really wanted to talk to her. And so I muted her on the back end while she would talk. And I unmuted her while we would talk. That was it. Because when we were talking, that's when the noise would happen. I would mute her and then I would unmute her real quick, when I saw that she wanted to talk. So that was one of those times when maybe I was more like 50% listening, 50% back end. Cause I just had to be. But yeah, when there's tech problems, we do our best to solve them. We had another guest on with Sister Anne Flanigan and her tech was just not going to work. So we had to have her join by phone and it was super stressful. But Anne Flanigan, meanwhile, the nun blogger, had all the power go out in her whole building and still got it together.
Still made it work.
Yeah, made it work. So yeah, the tech is an issue all the time with any remote show. You're going to have to deal with that. I try to make sure mine at least is working and fix the rest by phone. I was on the phone actually with one of today's guests trying to get them on at the last minute. So, it's never boring.
And I don't handle that one well at all. I mean, there's certain things that I can really be down with, but with the tech failure, I get really grumpy because I'll tell you the one thing that I think, and it's totally a me thing, but what I feel like is a lot of times, as many times as we say video show, people are like, wait, this is on video? And they do this thing where it's like the first they ever heard of it. And so they're sitting in a dark room holding their wiggly phone or whatever they're doing. And I'm just thinking stabby thoughts about the disrespect it takes to not be prepared to be a guest.
And I know that they're not being disrespectful.
No.
I know that.
But I feel it.
Yes. So they just, whatever, you send people things, they don't read them. If we've had a conversation, they forgot and whatever. So I view it that way and just say, hey, if you could turn on a lamp, like we've had people turn on lamps, we've had people move, we've had, all in the interest of helping them get their story out in a way that you'll be able to receive it.
Right.
Right. Because you're going to get distracted by this horrible sound or, the bad lighting or whatever. We want to set them up for success.
Kerry had a really great way of helping me feel better about that kind of stuff. See you later, Kate. Good seeing you. Thank you again. And thanks for the offer, by the way. We'll probably try to make it go together. I keep saying I wouldn't do it, but if you want to take a look, then it's only the last few minutes of every show. How hard could it be? The one thing about, now I lost my train of thought. Guests and all that sort of thing and being respectful of them.
You said me making you feel better about
Kerry made me feel better about we teach people, how the space between you and the top of the screen. We teach people about the lighting. We teach people about, why a mic is better in the long run and they need to pick one up if they don't have one for the future. Because we want them to look back at this interview and go, man, this was great and I look good. Not, why do I look like I'm doing this from a closet and like Pennywise is going to pull me back into the closet at any minute.
Like, why didn't somebody tell me? That will come up too. If I'm sure I'd feel that way if my sound was really bad. So like there've been a couple times my mic didn't pick up and you tell me because obviously I want it to.
Right.
So, so I always come from the standpoint of they don't know. They just don't realize. Bye, Kara. Do some sketching.
Draw well, Kara. Good to see you. We should close the show anyway. I mean, we did.
I'm so excited that we get to do this every day.
Me too.
So excited and so grateful to everybody who turns up to support us over and over and over and over again.
Emily has the best piece of advice ever because she knows herself. Emily runs some shows. You need hard and soft skills to run a seamless and engaging live show. And I believe if you just keep going, you get better over time.
So true with everything.
Yeah. But
everything.
It's I mean, it's helped me. The show has helped me in so many ways. One of the ways is it helps me break down some of my own biases and kind of what I considered hard calcified feelings and thoughts. So
Deanna says, you're going to have to hang up on me.
But I get it. I mean, Deanna's running a show. She's at the early days of the show. I pretty much pressured her into it. Like I pressure everybody into making shows. And it's hard when you have nobody watching. You're thinking, what the hell? What am I doing wrong? I am forever telling Kerry, no one's here. And Kerry's always saying, yeah, well, look at these numbers. And we'll look at like one of the biggest people in the world and they'll have 3 people watching live. And so I get it.
But more importantly, we see you talking to us and talking to each other. And to me, that means so much more. Like there have been other things that you might see, whatever number you see up for people watching. Nobody's saying anything. It's like watching by yourself.
Yep. And there's a number that advertisers and sponsors look for. There's a number that they look for that you never would know in a million years. And it is the engagement number. They look at our comments on our live stream and go, oh my gosh. And that's when they say they want to be part of it with us.
And that's not us. That's you.
Yep. That's
she says you pressured her.
I did. I know, but I had to. I need what you know, and you're not going to make it if I don't make you make it. So there you go. Now, listen, you know how much I dislike the cat, but it would be absolutely evil of me to fully starve it. That I ran out of food for it last night. And it's like, I've been as patient as I'm going to be with you. So
go feed your cat or send it to Carol.
I will send it to Carol because it could eat those really awesome bagels. So, and so why do we end the show in the middle like we do? It's because I really hate leaving. I hate exits. I hate every show.
Stop it.
I love the Irish exit. It's my favorite way to leave any event. If you've ever been with me at any live event ever, 1 minute I'm there, next minute I'm gone.
So true. There's no long goodbye with Chris.
Nope. I just sort of grabbed this thing.
You did it to me again.